Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Harpy Stitch. I'm Amy. This is my Flosstube, all about my cross stitch journey. This is episode 30, if I remember correctly. It's not just me today, it is my shadow. The sun outside is not as bright as it has been the last few weeks. So to get good light to go directly on the stitching, I have to turn my stitchy light a little bit, and now I'm getting this big shadow. I don't remember it being that big last couple of times, but that's okay. If you are new here, welcome. I know I got almost 20 new subscribers in the last week, so welcome and thank you so much for stopping by. And to all of you returning visitors, welcome back and thank you for being here. So, it's been a busy week. School is getting close to the end. The kids' final day is, we get Memorial Day off, then the rest of that week the kids are there, and then June 2nd is our workshop day, and we're done for the summer. The kids are getting spring fever like crazy. Teachers are too a little bit. So they're super wound up and amped, and they're already got summer brain, and I don't blame them. But we do have probably like 25 days left of school, so trying to navigate that. I am currently, we are talking about, what is it that we're talking about? I don't know. We just did a big project where they had to create a conspiracy theory. That was their test to learn how people deny science. So that was interesting. I've got to grade all those papers, which is what I'll be doing after this. If I can make my brain cooperate, because right now it's not cooperating. Oh, yeah, we're doing chemical reactions right now. It's an interesting year because they flipped two grades, and so we're actually doing a mix of topics, and next year will be actually pure earth science. So I will learn all over again what I'm supposed to be teaching. Because we shortened the earth science stuff to get some physics and chemistry stuff in that they would have missed because they aren't getting life sciences. And I am doing, as I said last time, 2 sessions of summer school. So I'll do session 1, have a break, and then do session 2, or session 3. If I did 1 and 2, there wouldn't be a break, would there? As I said, my brain's not fully functioning today. Update on my significant other, the former editor-in-chief. He had his first Botox. Apparently you don't really feel much effects from that. That's kind of like a test out thing. So he won't probably see any real effects until he gets his second Botox injection. They're injecting it like in the back of his head and the back of his neck to try to relax everything, because everything back here is so tense, it hurts all the time. But he did have an appointment with one of his doctors, a video one, on Friday, and there is a swelling back here, and in talking to the doctor, they think he might have something called, and I gotta look, occipital neuralgia. So you have the occipital nerves back here, and then they branch out and cover your whole head. So his pain starts back here, and then it just goes here to the point that he gets like the his vision wavers, kind of like when you, in the old days, when you would get halfway between 2 channels on the TV and you would get that fuzzy jumpy thing going on. He actually gets that in his vision from his headaches, and he has been having some whoppers lately, like can't make dinner, it's making him dizzy, it's making him nauseous. It has not been a fun time. But the doctor thinks what he might have is called occipital neuralgia. And what that is back here on the actual occipital nerve, and his is focused on his left side. The nerve goes up, and so it could be that blood vessels or tendons have basically wrapped themselves around the nerve and are basically squeezing the nerve. So we got blood work we're going to do to see what his potassium level is. Last time his was a little higher than they actually like. They like it to not be above a 4, and his was at like 4 point something. So we might cut out our potassium supplements a bit, because he would get leg cramps. So potassium to counteract the leg cramps. So if the Botox doesn't work, then he's going to ask him to do a deeper scan. And then there's a couple of things that they can do for the occipital neuralgia. The first procedure would be to, like if you've heard of a TENS unit, they can implant one back here to distract it. And then he could possibly control the strength and frequency and adjust it as needed. If that didn't work, there's a thing where there's a surgery they can go in and they will basically trim some of the stuff that's strangling it to make it that easier. And that works for a lot of people. But it could also, the stuff that they trim around it could grow back. So that's like option 2. And then the third option is they literally just go in and snip the occipital nerve so that it can't send pain messages anymore, which then he might have numbness. But I think right now he would prefer that. So I am hoping that we can get one of those things done this summer. I personally, there's risks with every surgery, yada, yada, yada. But I would like it if we went with number 2, so it was just cured. And he doesn't have to deal with this anymore. It affects his thinking ability, it gives him brain fog, it makes his head hurt, it makes his vision bad, it makes him sick to his stomach. And combine that with the myofascial pain syndrome, which is you have pain in one spot and it radiates everywhere, to the point you can't always tell where the pain is coming from. It's not good. So, but we have some progress. We have a potential path for treatment. If you know anybody with chronic pain, one of the worst things in the world is, one, when they tell you, oh, it's just because you're fat, which he's gotten for years, by the way. And they don't listen to you. And then they are like, oh, this is just the way your life is going to be now. And not having, it is heartbreaking to watch. How do you, nobody should have to live in pain like that forever. And when there's no path forward because they aren't exploring different options, they're just like, it's all in your head, or it's just because you're fat. That's why you have back problems. Well, back problems from your weight are not up here. They're in your lower back. So finally, he's getting listened to, and I'm hoping that we find a treatment that works and that he doesn't have to be in pain on a daily basis anymore. That would be wonderful. So hope on the husband health front. I don't know if he'll go back to editing. He's so picky and perfectionist that it takes the videos a long time to get out. And so I think it'll probably still just be me. I think for my whip parades, my plan is to do editing on my whip parades, and like in July I'll do a whip parade and I'll show you this is where it was at the beginning of the year and this is where it is now. And then I'll do an end of the year parade too. And the rest will just be these little informal ones. It's less stressful, and although they might not come out weekly once the fall comes back up, if I'm back to teaching, if I'm teaching full-time and going back to school. So may make some adjustments in the times. Maybe I'll do it once a month, because if I'm teaching full-time and studying, I'm not going to get much stitching time per week. But it's okay. I shall adapt and overcome. I will have to do some stitching or I will go insane. But until then, I have the summer. I still have some things to work out. I've got to figure out what my actual course load will be. I tried to arrange a meeting. I've got to try again because she never responded to my second inquiry about a time. I need to check in with the financial aid office. I checked with the Science Association for my state to find out if they knew of any grants or anything to help me pay for my schooling. And they gave me a couple of suggestions. So I will have to explore those over the summer. I also have some fundraising I need to do for my classroom, for like some classroom library. I'd like to incorporate some literacy and read alouds into my science classroom. So I've got to get some funding to get those books specifically for that. But life updates, I already shared with you that I had a great birthday last week. So I am hoping to go see the kiddo next weekend because our birthdays are 2 weeks apart. So my kid will be 26. is, I don't know, like, my kid's doing good. They're doing great. They have a job they like. They seem to be happy. They've made friends. They have a creative outlet. I'm hoping that maybe that can become their full-time career, but not at this point. It's not at that stage. So now that I've rambled on about my life for about 10 minutes, let's get into the stitching. So I have a new start. I wasn't planning on doing any new starts until May 1st, but I got an opportunity to be a test stitcher for Hexed Stitchcraft. I also have a couple of other opportunities to maybe do some model stitching. I will keep those on the down low until I find out if I'm actually doing it and what level of privacy or secrecy, I should say, that the people would, excuse me. Apologize. This level of secrecy that the people I would be doing the model stitching for would like me to do. One's for a stitcher probably to put on their store, and another is for a cross-stitch shop, so they actually have some cross-stitch on their walls. Yes, kitty, what you doing? Hey, you okay? Go away then. All right, so this is, I got, there was a post on Instagram from Hexed Stitchcraft, can't talk today, that they were looking for some test stitchers for their wacky, weird bugs that they had designed and charted. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd be interested. So they sent me like 10 options after some other people picked, and they had this one. They had a Mothra, and you might remember me talking earlier about how last summer we went and watched most of the Godzilla movies because I hadn't seen a lot of them. We didn't quite make it through all because of other things going on. But, so this is the mock-up for Mothra. It's not a giant chart. It's only 120 by 103. And when talking with Hexed Stitchcraft about it, they would like this done by the end of May, beginning of June. So I decided rather than waiting till May 3rd, which was my original intention, that I would start on it yesterday. Plus, I wasn't really feeling the project I was working on yesterday, and I love starting new stuff. So I'm doing this on 14 count. It's the DMC Sandstorm fabric that they sell at Michael's. I wanted to use my Pumpkin King fabric that I've got that's so gorgeous, but some of the colors didn't work, and I thought that the design would get lost in it because it's such a dark fabric. So here is my start. Here is, the middle was right around in here. So there is the end of the Mothra's bottom, and then these are the wings. So it was stitching up pretty quick. It doesn't have the shaded 2 rows of shaded overlay like a lot of patterns do, which I think would be really helpful, but it does have on the stitch that's actually in the middle, it has a little pink X where you can still see the symbol, but it kind of light pink X to say this is your center, so you don't have to do the match up the arrows thing. So that's really nice. There's only 9 colors, but I think it is going to look beautiful. And I don't know if I get to keep it or if I need to just send her a nice picture. I will have to find out, because if I've got we've got a small action figure of Godzilla, so I would definitely maybe put this with that and like do a display with Mothra and Godzilla, because they kind of act like married people at some point. If you've seen the Godzilla movies, you'll know it's almost like they're like the mom and dad of all the other monsters at one point, and it's like they're trying to like balance the human needs. Like they don't want to be mean to the other monsters, but they also don't want the other monsters hurting the people. So they kind of play mom and dad and corral and control the other monsters. And Mothra's all about bringing new life, and so pretty awesome, very great colors. I think it's going to look beautiful. So that is my only new start. I do have 2 new starts coming up next week. And I think I'm going to end up needing to do that was start number 19 for the year. I think I'm going to need to do about 2 new starts a week during this, from now until through the summer, if I want to start all 50 of them, all 50 of my starts. And I might bump off one of the little cards that I was doing, the quick kits, since I've got Mothrin out. And excuse me, I just had lunch and I'm a little belchy. I had the lunch a little early because I wanted to get this filmed. Kitty, don't mess with the tripod, please. Thank you. All right, my first whip for you is Evening in the Shire by Maria Brovko. Here is the plain black and white mock-up. Hey, kitty. Hey, don't bump the tripod, please. You can come in my lap if you like, but don't bump the tripod. So, I started this the day before my birthday. This was technically my birthday start, but I was an eager beaver, and I started it early. I am doing this on 28 count malachite by Atomic Ranch, and I'm doing it 2/2. This is for my birthday start and my Damn the Man sal. So if you have not heard, I'm doing a birthday sal called Damn the Man sal, and the idea is to stand up against fascism or to fight for people's rights. And I chose this because for me, the hobbits are a really great example of the little guys standing up to the big evil. And they're just regular folks, and they just want to live their lives and have their snacks and their food and their music and their family and chillax. But when need be, they stand up. So I got up into the sky and the moon, got the branch of the house. I've got to look, there's a bunny hiding in some of the backstitch. He's not in here yet, but somebody else told me that, Wolf Down the Rabbit Hole, Jen, told me that there's a bird hiding in that too, which I haven't found him yet. I should look for him before I put all this away. But I think it looks nice and lovely. I picked this because I thought it looked like a very pastoral green, like you might see in the hills. So back to the Damn the Man sal, because I've got squirrel brain today. If you want to join, it's a start along. You can pick anything you want. It could be something that represents resistance to you. It could be someone who's a hero that stood up for others. It could be a quote that's inspiring. It could just be a beautiful work of art that is bringing you joy in these trying times. It is sometimes really hard not to feel alone when things are going incredibly wrong and things are really off. So, you know, find something that brings you joy, brings you happiness, makes you feel like you're not alone. And when I first started this, I wasn't sure how I was feeling about it. But now that I'm getting more of it in, I think it is going to look gorgeous. And it's dark green instead of like a night sky thing, but I think it's going to work. There's that stage in the evening if you're out in nature where everything kind of looks like a dark green. And I think this implies that pretty well. I'm sorry, I'm in love with this. And it's stitching up so quick. I totally messed up on the first little bit, as I said last time. But I fixed that really quick, and it stitches up really fast. I don't know once I get into the back stitch, and it's all the back stitch, I don't know how fast that's gonna go because you have to be very careful to not get off. I was trying to get up here so I could have some more straight anchor points before I tried to do all the leaves and stuff, because I was afraid if I went into the leaves it would get way too confusing as I pull the holes a little bit. So yay. I know, I keep holding that up. I've already shown it to you, but I love it so much. That's another one that I can't wait to get up on my wall. All right, next is Camp Crystal Lake. I started this on April 5th. I'm doing this on a piece of 18 count Ada. I think it's 18 count. I think it might be 14 count, I'm not sure. And I'm doing it 2/1. This is by the Witchy Stitcher. And I used it for a couple of prompts there, because it has a boat and it has water. And so I got a lot of the water in from the last time you saw it. It's going to say, welcome to Camp Crystal Lake. It is a Friday the 13th. The name of the camp in Friday the 13th. And this is actually the sign. She also did one that's got Freddy's face over it. But I like this one better. Actually, my husband preferred this one to the other one. But I was actually kind of expecting him to go with the hockey mask, but he surprised me, and that's okay. All right, next is Halloween Fairy, and I think I'm going to take this one out of the hoop. I had a prompt for metallic threads because I'm doing the fandom weekly. I mostly do the weeklies for the fandom. I don't worry about the monthlies so much because that gets overwhelming when I've got 2 jobs and everything, but the weeklies are usually a manageable size. So I needed, and then now we're doing a scavenger hunt, which is a team activity. So I'm trying to do those first and combine them with my weeklies. It was weird. It just started this last week, so I'd already picked my weeklies. So it was a little harder to coordinate this time, but I think from going forward, it'll be easier. And I finally, when I went to Black Cat Stitchery for my birthday, I finally was able to get my one metallic thread that was missing from my Halloween Fairy by Nora Corbett. I started this last year on 2 years ago now, on October 23rd. It is on 32 Count Yellowstone by Bling, who are the people who now own Black Cat Stitchery. And somebody told me that before Black Cat Stitchery's customer service was not necessarily the best and that I shouldn't bother. But that was before Bling took it over. So here is my Halloween Fairy. I'm going to lean over so I can see. And the thread that I was missing was the 3514, the cobweb color. So I was able to finally get some of the cobweb in. And I want to zoom in a little bit on that. I'm going to fold her down now. I haven't done any of the beads. I've got to put her, I don't want to lose my needle. I got to put her on a scroll frame to do it. Now, my thing is that because to get a good anchor, I had to do it a certain way. I've now got kind of a little hole from where the hole got pulled tight. Does anybody have any tips? I mean, I think what I'm going to end up doing is if I frame her, what I'll do is I'll back her with a fabric that is the same color. But if you have any suggestions of how to minimize a hole like that when you're doing these kind of things, because the crossbars for the spider web here don't go straight across from each other, so I couldn't just go straight across. It wouldn't have looked right. So I would love some tips on how to either minimize that, or if you have another solution besides just covering it up by putting the same color fabric behind or a similar color fabric behind. I would really appreciate it. I am still learning. There's always new things to learn, and most of my metallic thread use has been on a much smaller scale than that. And sorry, I'm gonna put her back in the hoop. I know a lot of people don't like to leave them in the hoop, but if I don't actually have a hoop for every project, so. And if I'm using the bamboo ones, as long as they're not too big, they hold tension pretty well, and I haven't found them damaging to the stitching. I'm careful, like, about it, but I don't usually worry about it too much. Unless I've got, like, a really long stitch that I haven't couched down. Kitty, what are you doing? You're getting into my box for my projects. All right, next is one you haven't seen for a little bit. It is Rare Horror Flies by Noctifloradesigns. I started this on August 3rd, 2023. Kitty. I left my little box where I keep my projects I'm working on in the week open, And so he's trying to decide if he wants to get into the bags that are in there. It is on 18 Count Deadly Blooms by Witch's Garden Crafts, and I'm doing it 2/1. And I should have probably done it 2/2. So let's fold it over now. All right, so I am working, I finished these little dudes here. So I'm on part 7. And now I've moved over to work on the guys on this side. And look at him, he's got a little skull body. So I've got, what's left is the King Emperor guy up here. And I think he's got some little decorative dudes on this side. And then she included a figure 1, figure 2 chart to go at the bottom. So I'm really close to finishing this. This is was the one I was using for, there's a finish bonus for if you finish a whole project or the part of a SAL, but I finished another part for last month, so for April. So it is, I don't need that done. I was so close though. All right. Ooh. This accidentally came out of the bag for the next project when I pulled the project out. It's okay though, I'll put it back in. Next is my next copy of the Shawshank Sampler by SS Prop Designs. I have not gotten an order for this. I started it in December. I started it in December of last year, hoping so it wouldn't count for my 50 starts, and hoping to get enough done before I got an order that I didn't have to drop everything. So it fit the prompt because I needed to use a certain color, and I'm just gonna see. Yep. Gonna get it all in, and I finished all the letters. So if you don't know, this is a reference to the Shawshank Redemption movie. This is not mentioned in, excuse me, I was looking at my thread, because pulling it out of the way, and a little tiny start on the frame. It wasn't mentioned in the book, but it was a prop in the movie that is behind the warden's desk. It is a fake Bible verse. And so he charted that from the visual of it in the movie, and I have done probably almost 24 of them for him now. And I'm hoping that I get another order for it soon, because it's a nice little bit of money for that, because he pays me for it. All right. Honestly, that one does not thrill me as much as it once did, and when I first started making them, I thought I would want one for my house. I don't anymore. There are other Stephen King things I'd rather, other Stephen King designs I'd rather put in my house at this point. I'm kind of sick of looking at it. But that's why people don't tend to stitch the same thing 30 times, and I'm not quite there yet, but it's getting close. And he's like, are you sure you still want to keep doing this? And I'm like, yep. And if I work on only it takes me about a week and a half to do one, and it's about 6,000 stitches. So if I concentrate on it, and it's easy to count. It's 11 count, right? It's 11 count ivory, 3/1. It is not hard to see. The pattern's harder to see than that, and there are parts of it I don't even need to count. Like, I know how many little triangular things are in the border on. It's 27 one way and 13 the other. So for parts of it, I don't even really need to count that much. I just do. Oh, am I getting close to the end? All right, let me double count and make sure I haven't added an extra thing. I can even tell you, like, from the center pattern, I have to count 19 stitches up to get to the first letter, the M that I put in. Like, I've done it that many times. But it's a nice little income, and it really doesn't take long to do. And if I break it up and just take my time doing it, you know. And sometimes I'll get 3 of them in a row, and other times I'll get like none for 8 months. And so if I have one stash, then I can just wash it, pack it up, iron it, off it goes, and I'm done. And again, they don't really take me that long. I just have too many other projects that I'd rather be working on. So this one, I've got to get this done. It is so pretty, and I cannot wait to finish it and like fully finish it. So next is Deadly Aquarium Cell by Lola Crow. I know I'm super behind. I've seen other people who are still working on it, so I don't feel so bad. And thank you to all of you who are still also working on it, because you can't keep up with Sal's either. I started this for my birthday, last year for 2024. It is on 32 count Sequoia by Atomic Ranch Fabrics, and I'm doing it 2/2. And this is where I am. So this is exhibit 3. I like barely have any of the coral left to do, and then I will be finished. I used this for one of the scavenger hunt prompts, and oh my gosh, I just wanted to finish this, but I needed to do some other prompts, so I had to put it down. I was so close. I was hoping I would finish, but I actually had more stitches than I needed, and I actually did more than I needed for the prompt because I finished this light coral color. When I was first putting these in, I was like, that seems a little dark and winey. Wine colored, not winey as in kavitzing. But now with the other colors in there, it just is so perfect. And I know, I think we've got a eel or no, wait, that's the one of the fish. This is the eel, and then now we've got like some other fishies coming in here. And I didn't finish the frame. I kind of decided after I screwed up the frame really bad, I was way too short on this side. Oh no, it was right here. It was way too short. I left out like 5 rows. So then I just decided to go work as I go, and then I'm gonna kind of go and add there's a seagull down here that needs to be added in again. But it is looking so beautiful. I love the coral so much. So lovely. I was like, ooh. So I don't know. I'm starting more, and I'm really excited about doing all my starts for my 50th birthday this year. But at the same time, it's like the more I start, the less time I have to work on the ones I need to finish. But it's okay. It's okay. I am still planning on doing my 50 starts. I'm gonna have to scooch them up, I think, during the summer, and then I might end up having to like just pick one to work on or something. I don't know what I'm gonna do when I'm going back to school and teaching, but that is a problem for future Amy, not for me today. I am feeling a little stressed about starting more projects faster, but once summer gets here, it will not be as big of a deal. So another one that I worked on was Sapita by Maroomy Designs. It called for a hand-dyed or a variegated thread, and I am using DMC, what is it? I can never remember the number. 4240, which is Midsummer Night. I started this on August 14th of 2023, and so in her example, in her mock-up, she had it in blue and white, and the white was the part you were supposed to stitch. So what I did for this is, because I wanted the Rays of the Sun to be yellow, and I'm doing it on the 32 count Needle Blings Yellowstone. Same color I'm doing my Halloween fairy on, actually the other half of the fabric. So what I did is I am actually stitching the negative space. So all these little pomegranates are usually what you would stitch for this design. You would have stitched her cheeks. And I chose to do the Midsummer Night because I wanted that effect of you know, when the sun's going down and you get the little purpley stripes in the sky sometimes when it's at just the right height. I wanted that effect. So that is what I did. I only had to do 100 stitches on her, but I got down here and got in some more of the mountains. So if I had been doing just the part that was stitched, I would probably be much closer to being done, but I am reversing the stitched piece. So I'm very excited though. She is going to be gorgeous. She was, excuse me, she's just such a lovely design, and she even fits my Damn the Man Sal, so I could even mark her as a Damn the Man Sal too, because it's talking about the women who are advocating and pushing for their own rights. So, you can read more about it or watch Maroomy's episode when she talks about why she created it. I don't remember which Flosstube it was. I should look that up and put it in the show notes below. But it is a beautiful design. And then Bohemian Stitchery does the Wall of Women, which what she would qualify for. So I don't know. I will one day have way too many things to put on my walls, and that's okay. All right, so I'm having some brain fog today, and my brain's working a little slow, and that's okay too. Again, gonna make it hard to grade. One of the ways they could demonstrate their argument was a podcast. So what I'm going to focus on grading after I'm done here is my kids' podcasts, so that because that's just easier to do when I'm not being disturbed by people. And the posters are hard to carry home, so I'll grade the posters at school, and then I'll do the podcast here at home today. And I'm finding I have to watch a couple of times to catch everything. So it's all right though. That's teaching life, isn't it? All right, so back to stitching. This is Seductive Kermit by the Witchy Stitcher. It's the second time I've done this. I did one, and a friend of mine fell in love with it and asked me to make one for him. And it was his dating profile when he met his fiance. So I said sure, and they're gonna get it framed. So I started this on the January 10th of this year, and I'm gonna come down here. I added, since you last saw it, I added in this curtain. I added in all of this stuff in the back, the candles, so the little decorative pieces, and then Kermit's sexy legs. So he is almost done. I am actually doing him in Pattern Keeper. So I will have to go and look at the PDF in Pattern Keeper to get, like, there's some back stitching here for like the flames of the candles. There's tassels on these little strands here. There's some little black dashy things for his eyes, and in a couple of spots where his like feet cross so you can see his feet better. And then it says one night only up here, and then there is a decorative border down here with hearts. And the decorative border with the hearts is the only stitching I have left to do. I was supposed to stitch the black, but I cheated, and I just used black fabric, which I think is fine. The only place I used black was in his eyes, because when I did this the first time, I tried just leaving his eyes blank, but it led a weird, like, from far away you probably couldn't tell, but it bothered me that the pupil of his eyes was like below his eyeball. I was like, that doesn't look right. So I had to fix it. So I just, the only two stitches in black will be that, and then some back stitching. But yeah, all I have left to do is this. I worked on this for several prompts this weekend, and got quite a few stitches in, and I've decided to just finish off his legs, even though I just had a few. I was done with the prompts. I was like, I have to finish his legs. But he's looking amazing, as always. Kermit is one of my favorites of all time. I have I still have it. It's a Kermit shirt that I got at the Disney store like 20 years ago, and it's got a few holes in it, and they're really small, and it's going to start falling apart, and I'm going to miss that shirt so much. But he's looking lovely. And yesterday's project, because this was called Twice for Whip Go this month, and I've done 3 days on it. I've got one more. I'm going to try to make myself work on it this afternoon, but I'm just not feeling it. I only got 192 stitches in it yesterday because I started Mothra instead, because I just am not feeling it. I love it, but I'm really wishing I had done 1/1 instead of 2/1 for this 25 count fabric. But I'm afraid if I switch to 1/1 now, it's going to be blatantly obvious. And I'm still not even at 1%. So this is Cliffhanger by Hade. And I think the fault is mine for doing 2/1. But I wanted this to look like a painting when it was done, so I didn't want any white showing through. Although in a few spots it still does, just because of the way the stitch is pulled. But it won't be obvious when you do it. So the art here is by Amy Stewart. This was my New Year's start for 2024. It's on 25 count Witchell 2/1. And working my way through it slowly. It's at 0.68%, I think is what Pattern Keeper told me. And I switched this over to Pattern Keeper. So those are my whips for this week. The only haul I have is, well, only stitchy relating haul. So I was going to make project bags, but I'm like, I really want to stitch, not make project bags right now. Especially since I know I'm going to be not having as much stitching time once fall gets here. And then so I went to Michael's, because I work there, you know, and I was going to just get 3 of these bags. Then I noticed they were on clearance for $1. So they're 10 by 13 bags, and they were $1 a piece. So I got all 6 that were left, because I desperately needed some bags. So that's really my only stitchy related haul. Oh, and I got some bobbins today, because I had a voucher, and I really needed some bobbins. So I know not everybody likes to bobbinate, but I do. I actually find it soothing. Okay, so plans. First Whipco was called earlier this week. The numbers were 5 and 19. For me, that 5 is finish FFO something, which I have a couple of things. There's a few things that I wanted to FFO, but I just didn't bother because I knew that was on my Whipco. So kind of loaded the deck for myself. And then 2 days on the Wisdom stocking. That is a gift for my kid. The Whipco is by Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She announces it on her Flosstube and her Instagram. So it's basically, if you aren't familiar, although I don't know of anybody who watches Flosstube at this point that isn't familiar, although I didn't find out about it for a long time. So maybe you don't know. It's like a bingo board. There's numbers 1 through 25 on it. You assign what you want to work on. Some people set up rewards, so if they finish a row or if they finish a column, they basically get to give themselves a prize, like, you know, a piece of fabric or a new start or whatever they decided their goal is. Some people aren't using it for stitching. Some people are using it for behavior changes. Like, I don't know. People are using it for different things. Oh, who was it? I can't remember whose Flosstube. Was it Stitching with the Griffin? Maybe? I can't remember because I've watched several people. But what they're doing is they've got a person on each of their squares, and and this isn't Stitching with the Griffin. It was somebody talking about somebody else using it. And when the person's square is called, you reach out to them and you make sure, you know, you reconnect with people and trying to be more present and deliberate in your connecting with others, which I thought was pretty cool. So those are my Whipcos. Finish something and do 2 days on Wisdom. I also have 2 new starts planned. So May 1st, many people do Mirabilia May or Mermaid May. And I have never done a Mirabilia. And that was on my list of things to do. And this is actually, oh yeah, that's straight. Sorry, I was looking at my charger that's plugged into my phone while I film, and it was like, is that crooked? Are you gonna come visit? Oh, there's a cattail. You gonna come up? Okay. See, this is why I can't cuddle with him while I stitch, because when he wants cuddles, it is, Mommy, you have to give me all of the loves, and you have to hold on to me with both hands, and nothing else will do. You're on TV. This is Dwimmer, if you have not met him. He is a sweet boy when he's not being an absolute turkey. gotta finish filming now. Okay, so I'll try to talk. I'm going to show it to you in a minute, but right now I have to live on the cat. So, I have had a Mirabilia, sorry, I'm getting cat hair on my nose. I've had a Mirabilia for a long time. I inherited it from my grandmother, my dad's mom, years ago. When she passed away, I'm the only one who really cross stitches or does anything like that in my family. So they literally sent me boxes of like old cross stitching books. I had like a whole nativity set, which I got rid of on a de-stash site. Yeah, and one of the scavenger hunt challenges is to cuddle with your pet while you stitch. But this is how he prefers to cuddle. Now with my husband, he will sit on my husband's leg rest and between my husband's legs for hours on end, perfectly content. And if he wants attention, he just meows at my husband and leans his head back and he gets pets. But with me, it's this. And sometimes he does this with the husband too. So I think for the cuddle with pets one, I'm going to literally have to sit in my husband's spot and put my feet up and see if he will sit between my legs while I stitch. So I actually I've actually had, since my grandmother passed away, the Emerald Mermaid by Mirabilia, and I haven't done one before. So I'm going to show you what she's supposed to look like. She's from 2004. This is the photo that was on it. It got a little damp, so it's a little warped, but this is she, and the center is right here near her hand. So I have my fabric picked out. I did a floss toss when I got it. So I think it'll look very nice. But, so my concern is this. I have only done 1/1 skin once. And that is on my Overlook Sal with the twin sisters. Because in the movie they were twins. In the book they were just sisters. So the center point is almost right at her hand, which means I would have to start doing the 1/1 right away. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go around and do the green and come back to her skin later. So I have all the floss. I think I took the, because you know Mirabilia's, it's one big giant sheet, which is not workable. So in fact I still have it here, but I'm not going to show you the design. So, you know, it's this big fold out thing, right? So what I did is I took it to the local Office Depot and I had them make multiple copies to make a working copy. And I mean, you can't do enough with this anyway. So what I did is then I matched them all up and I highlighted the stuff I didn't need and just left the stuff that I do. So this is going to be a thinker, because I have to double check that I marked out everything as I go. It's going to be slow progress. It's going to have to be a very careful stitch because of the way I had to do the working copy. So this is the fabric that I picked. I've got to serge the edges still and double check the size. I don't know if I will need all of it. I've got to redo my count here. Let's see, is it 32 count? It is 32 count Juniper by Stephanie. Fabrics by Stephanie. It's supposed to be 14 by 8.5. Yeah, so I definitely do need to cut down this fabric because it is 20.5 by 26.5, and I do not need all of that. So I'm going to have to cut that before I start stitching, because she is not close enough to any edge for me to try that. But this is the fabric. I think it's quite lovely. It's a little bit greener than I think it's showing up, but it's bluish green. I think it'll be really lovely. I do have to, I was like, I have to serge it, but I'm going to have to cut it first. So I'll have to do that before I start on it, because I don't want to waste all that lovely fabric. I have a decent fabric stash, but I only have one of those Michael's, was it 8 or yeah, 10 things, and it's overflowing a little bit. But so that is for my first mirror for Mermaid May, Mirror May. I guess both hashtags work since she's both of those things, right? So I've got to cut that. Ooh, I might do that this afternoon. So yeah, and I have another new start planned. So Jason Crossstitches, or Jason X Stitch, he is doing a halfway to Halloween sale. So halfway to the number Halloween sale. That's his hashtag, because he also likes Halloween just like me. And this has been on my list to start for a while. So I figured instead of waiting till fall to do it, I would start it now. So Old Scully was already on my list of 50 to start. So this is Old Scully. It is designed by, the original artwork is by Theo de Fantasy Dreamworld, and it is adapted for cross stitch by Le Petit Croix de Luce. It is from, if you are curious, the 2024 Halloween. Oh, and look, there's Maroomy's design. And I still want to do this little bat. So that is on my list, has been for a while. I am going to be doing it on 40 Count Haunted by Seraphim. So I did the Fortune Teller, which was by Jessie Schofield last year. And, oh yeah, that's pulling it back. That works better. And though it's 2 different artists, the styles are really close together. They like look like they could be partner pieces. So what I decided to do, in fact, I have a chunk out of it. So I've got to cut this too. I thought I just needed to serge. This is what happens when you don't open your fabric. But if I'm going to do it 2/2, just like I did Fortune Teller. I think I did Fortune Teller 2/2, or did I do it 1/2? Where is it? Is it in this one? Give me a second, because now I can't remember. I got to grab my previous journal. Occupy yourselves. All right. I knew it was right here because I keep it near me all the time. Let's see. Now I have to flip. Fortune Teller was entry 16. I'll have to double check. I don't think there's any half stitches in it. This is why I'm not using this kind of, there's too many wasted pages. This is why I had a friend make me a new one. All right, there's Halloween Fairy. Fortune Teller was 1/2. And I will probably do the same thing with this one. Let's see. Yeah, I did check. There is no half stitches in this one, or quarter stitches either. It's all straight up. But yeah, I'm gonna do that. I've got to do my measuring and cut that. I gotta do that today and serge it. I don't have an actual serger. I just do wiggly stitches around the edge with my sewing machine. But I didn't realize I had to cut fabric. So I'm hoping that maybe I can cut the right piece out of here and then, ooh, I could get another project on it, I think. Yeah, I think I could get like possibly 2 more depending on the size of the project. Eee! And it's so pretty. I like using all of my fabric up. The really pretty stuff's really kind of pricey, so I want to make sure I get biggest bang for my buck. All right. Let's see, other plans. Continue stitching with Fandom Weeklies and the scavenger hunt. I've been having fun with that. Hoping to visit the kid for her/they's birthday next week. My child uses both she and they pronouns. I had already requested Saturday off, hoping to go. We will confirm with them whether they're having plans with friends, because we love seeing the kid, but we also don't want to interfere with their life and interfere with their friendships. So, in order to help me get my 50 starts in before I go back to school full-time, and teaching full-time and going back to school probably part-time, I am possibly going to do a start-a-thon on Memorial Day where I just like maybe do 200 stitches on a whole bunch of different starts. I, again, am a crazy lady for doing this, but that's okay. And then I really do need to make more project bags, because even with this, my 6 that I got yesterday, I already have projects in them. So my options are either to make a bunch of project bags, which take a lot of time for me because I'm still really slow at it. The hardest part's the cutting. And I'm not very practiced at that yet, so I'm terrified of cutting things wrong. And I'm still not perfect about getting everything squared up. So even though I got a new cutting mat. So maybe I need to do a bag-a-thon day on Memorial Day instead of a start-a-thon. And then maybe do a start-a-thon on June 1st. I don't know. Well, no, because June 1st I'll be teaching. Maybe that day, because I have to do grades in on the Monday after school's out. Then I have a meeting for summer school on Wednesday. So maybe that day in between I should do bags. All right. So I have been making a big effort to keep watching Flosstube because I am so far behind. I am subscribed to over 100 different Flosstubers. I've been trying to get where I can get caught up with everybody so I can just do one episode a week or whenever people put them out. But that is a daunting task when a lot of the episodes are like this one, an hour long. I didn't intend for this to be an hour long, but it is what it is, right? You say what you got to say in the time you got to say it, right? So shout outs for this week. Stitchy Witch 42 is back to filming. I don't know how regular she shall film because she's still dealing with a lot of personal stuff. You're right, Audrey, though. I do love your antics. You're a fabulous storyteller, but I also love your projects. So I do keep coming back for your stories. And the fact that you named your mysterious ailments is wonderful. I love your sense of humor and how you use humor to deal with stuff. So keep at it, girl. Jason Crossstitches, as I mentioned him before, he's doing a halfway to Halloween sale. He's got a lot of fun spooky projects. He is so new to stitching and is taking so many risks. Check him out if you haven't, although he's got way more subscribers than me. So many of you have already found him. I've got caught up with Animal Instinct. Her projects are looking great as always. And I always enjoy her channel. Bees and Teas Stitching. I'm trying to get caught up with Sebastian again. Sebastian had taken a break for a while and came back, and is now doing pretty much weekly videos again. A lot of nerdy stuff, and check out his channel because he's fun to watch. And his cat is on a lot more than mine is. Celine, she's very beautiful. DNA Geek Crafts Carrie. She is off on an adventure soon. She is also going back to school. And I am so jealous. I am not going to spoil her all of her news. So if you want to see what grand adventure she's embarking on, check out her latest Flosstube. I'm so jealous. And she just had another good adventure. So she's having all the adventures right now. But that's okay. Dizzy Stitcher, if you like animal patterns, check him out. He has got quite a few. He's doing temperature stitching, where he's got, it's not number of stitches for him, it's the single digit, so the ones place, whatever that is, he's got 10 projects that are assigned a number 0 through 9, and for that day he stitches on them. and they get called. When they get called 10 times, it's 100 stitches every time they're called. When they get called on 10 times, they've hit 1,000 stitches. He puts them away and picks a different one. So he's doing his that way. There's so many different ways to do all these approaches. Stuart stitches. He's doing his temperature stitch, but it's the number depends base. Can't talk. For him, the numbers decide how many stitches he does on that project. So both doing temperature stitching, but completely different ways. Jo, Stitchy Cat Lady. She's got some fun stuff. She just recently had an update. Sorry guys, my brain is super fuzzy at the moment, and I'm trying to remember everybody. And then I just started this morning. I finished somebody's Flosstube, and it did the autoplay thing, and I've been subscribed to her for a little bit. I think it was on Stuart and Stitch's recommendation, but I hadn't got a chance to watch her. But I got to watch 2 of her videos this morning. Catherine Stitches, some very cute stuff. Really calming voice, but I do like a bit of a Scottish accent, so that was terrible. I apologize for my bad Scottish accent. I am married to someone who's part Scottish. I'm mostly Irish, but a little Scot in there too, so I figure I'm all right. Let me know if I'm not, but let me know if it's not all right for me to do a Scottish accent. That's what I mean. So that is who I've been watching in the last week. I know Stuart has a new one out, so I will probably try to watch that. Well, I can't watch Flosstube while I grade podcasts. That's not going to work. It's 2 audio inputs. I can't pay attention to both. So I'm going to have to be a grown-up and actually do my teaching job before I get on to doing my fun stuff. I don't like being a grown-up, by the way. I am tired of grown-upping. I am tired of adulting. I just want to escape into the things I enjoy doing at this point, but not always an option, right? All right, so reading, watching. I don't do this every time because I'm so busy, and honestly, my memory's kind of crap, and I bumped the power cord, which shook the tripod. Sorry about that. But I did just listen to The One and Only Ivan by Christina Applegate. It's a children's novel about a gorilla who is in captivity, told from the gorilla's point of view. It is the first in a series. There's also The One and Only Bob, which is about the dog that lived in his domain, or as he calls his cage a domain because he's a silverback. And it is roughly based on a story of a real gorilla. Made me cry several times. There's also an elephant named Stella and an elephant named Ruby, and Ruby gets her own book as well called The One and Only Ruby. Very touching story, got some good environmental messages. Been listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl when we get the chance, though that's cut down a little bit because my husband's been playing Oblivion. They remastered it and re-released it. However, the frame rates are terrible, and a lot of people have been having frame rate issues with the PC version. So he's been trying to fix that, but it's not one of those, even if he was playing it in the living room, it's not one of those movie or video games that you can listen to a book while you do it, because it's got a story. No Man's Sky is what he usually plays when I'm listening to Carl, because there's not a story you need to listen to, so he can listen to an audiobook while he plays. And now we did not watch this last week. We watched it a little while ago, and I failed to mention it. We watched the movie Opus, and I've got to look at her name. It stars Ayo Edebiri, I think is how you say your name, John Malkovich, and Juliette Lewis. And it is about a young writer who works at a magazine, I think. That part's really not important. But she gets invited with several other people to go to this release party for this legendary rock star played by John Malkovich, who hasn't put out an album in like 20 years. And he's like considered the greatest musician of his day and like a legend. And it's like, oh, he's got a new thing coming out. And when they get there, the compound that he's living in, it is super culty, like creepily culty. This movie is engaging, it is intense, it speaks to the worship of celebrities and how crazy people get with that. It speaks to the problems with our media. It is a horror movie, so yeah, there's a lot of psychological horror, but there is some gore. So, but it was so good, so good. And a movie we just watched earlier this week stars Jake Quaid, and I can't remember her name, but if you watched Prey, the alien movie with the Native Americans, the main character, the girl, she plays the main character in Novocaine, and I would probably mess up her name even if I could write it, if I remembered to write it down. So this movie is called Novocaine, and it is about this guy named Nathan Kane who has a disorder, a genetic disorder in which he cannot feel pain, and it's a very rare but real disorder. But he's working as an assistant manager in a bank, and he's very cautious. He doesn't go out. He plays video games because, like, he has to be super careful because he can't feel when he gets hurt. So, like, if he stepped on a nail, and in fact, he tells this story to her, and this really happened when he was a kid, it went right through his shoe, and he didn't feel it until his shoe filled up with blood because he couldn't feel that he got stabbed, because he has no sensation of pain. So he's super careful and cautious, but the bank is robbed, and this girl that he's met and become interested in is taken. And so, yeah, adventure and strangeness ensues. It's a bit of a dark comedy, and it gets kind of bloody, but it was so good, and Jake Quaid was phenomenal. He was also in Companion, I think. Yeah, he was also in Companion, which is a horror movie about a companion robot who is mistreated by Jake, and she actually kind of loses her mind because she realizes what she is, because she doesn't know she's a robot at the beginning. And that's a really good movie too. So if you haven't watched that, I recommend. So those are kind of, those are really all that I've read and watched. I started The 3-Body Problem yesterday. Nothing like the TV show so far, and apparently the first book doesn't get anything like the TV show. I am learning a lot about China in the revolution in the 60s. So there's that. But that's really all I've been reading and watching. I can't think of anything else to share with you. As always, it has been lovely spending time with you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions for me, you can reach out to me here in the comments. My email, harpystitch@gmail.com, is listed in my contact info. I have an Instagram. I have a Bluesky. I'm still working my way off Facebook, but I have blocked targeted ads on there to reduce the money I'm giving Bezos until I can totally get off of there, which won't be till the end of the year because I have stuff locked up and things I'm doing right now. So that's all I got for you today. I look forward to chatting with you again next week. May today be kinder to you than yesterday, and tomorrow be kinder to you than today. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.